Let me share this out. Once it all comes up. Yeah, gotta get it all pulled up. Man, there's some crazy people out there today. I didn't think this week could get crazier from being threatened. Oh, I didn't put what today's date was. 5 May 2024. There we go. 6 shots of espresso. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, I'm trying to get everything pulled up here so that I can share this out. Copy link. Why does all this stuff take so long? Take so long to come up. All right. Now I gotta search VeteranNation. Sorry about all this. So how crazy was it this week that I was getting threatened by friends and family member of a guy out here who quite literally hit and ran and killed a kid, a 16-year-old kid. And I had heard rumblings from people that that if you said anything bad about the company or mentioned the case, that you would be harassed by some people. And it's funny because, yep, that's exactly what happened. I made a couple comments and just sat back, and I mean, it was within 5 minutes, and a fake account jumped at me. People here who are mad at me because I said Russia was not our enemy. They're mad. My local spot has a drink called the 911, 6 shots of espresso, half and half of splash. That'll do it. I used to be a barista way back in the day, and 6 shots of espresso, just one will do it for me. Maybe you guys will enjoy my new shirt. I went down to the farmer's market yesterday, and I got me a new t-shirt. I've already had people stop me about it. I was down in Palm Springs yesterday, and people were stopping me, telling me how much they enjoyed it. You have a new heart now. Did they replace the batteries in your heart thing? Because I know you needed one. But yeah, so this guy, Troy Reynolds, he ran over a kid near our local Walmart, kills the kid. Probably an accident, you know. Oh, there's Conspiracy Kitty trying to make an appearance. Probably an accident, but he only stops very briefly and then leaves the scene. And then he tries taking the vehicle to a detailing place who tells him, no, we're not dealing with that. And so he takes it to another place in Riverside. So he's got to drive over 45 minutes to a detailing place to get his truck cleaned. And that place calls the sheriff because there's body, you know, chunks in the vehicle. And they preserve it. And here it's the vehicle that the sheriff up here was looking for. And because the young man who was killed, because he made comments about suicide and depression, what the family is trying to do now is they're just DMing strangers and trying to convince people that the kid was suicidal and jumped in front of the car. And see there, the sister of Troy Reynolds has been posting this image. They have been sending this to people. And here's what he had said to me. This is from Steve Osborne, but Steve is spelled Stexe. Okay, so it's clearly a fake account. Was just created back in March. The incident happened in January. So, and other members of this hill towing company out here in Yucca Valley, they have been harassing people who talk about this case online. Hey Mike, nice post. Figured you'd want the facts before you make judgment like others. You do know that's considered slander, right? Here you go, bud. The kid committed suicide. Fact, and the story of the hit and run is false. So there's your proof. The sheriff can. So your post is inaccurate. So you can kindly remove this incorrect statement or be added to the list for slander and defamation. Thought I would share with you. Have a great day. So he's saying that this picture right here proves it. I don't know what this picture is even supposed to show. It shows a sheriff deputy, it shows an ambulance, and it shows someone wearing a reflective vest. That's not proof of a suicide. And then he posts the young man's grandmother had posted some stuff and said, this is the mother's post. You figure it out, smart guy. I told him, I said, look, the only one posting defamation is you. And then he says, enough said. See you in court, sir. No, you choose to involve yourself, so you chose the wrong one, unfortunately. Till have yourself a good day. By law, I have to ask you first, then done. Now you've been added. Have a great day, Mike. Author misspells my name, even though it's literally right at the top of the DM. You have been notified per this message. Thanks. And I responded, I wait on pins and needles. Oh, you should probably spell my name right in the court filing. Okay. What I posted is now defamation. It doesn't meet the criteria of defamation, so I hope to God Steve, spelled with an X, has the guts to actually take me to court, because I don't believe it's going to happen. This is a fake account. This is clearly either one of the family members or one of the workers trying to tamper with the jury, because the last court hearing was April 16th. This is going to go to this is going to go in front of the jury. I hope the judge. I do know other people have been harassed. I've encouraged them to make police reports, and I hope this all goes in front of the judge and they do something like change a venue. But yeah, people are freaking nuts. I also want to bring to you guys' attention, and that's just like a John and Lynette situation, exactly like it. Going after people who aren't believing what they're saying when the facts clearly go against them. So I'm going to talk about Shyam Alig, who in reality is a gentleman named Steve Allen. So this goes back to John and Lynette stuff. Mr. Allen, he is just a fan of the show who wants to involve himself. He is posting that he is tracking everybody's IP addresses. He's also telling people that he's been working with Jeremy Hales, he's been working with the Umbrella guy, he's been working with Megan Fox. The fact is, no one's ever heard of this guy. He's just a dude who is gathering information on people and trying to make himself bigger than what he is. And he also is issuing threats. That's one thing I find funny about these people. They always want to issue threats. It's like, look, if you just want to go do your thing, go do your thing. Because your thing, no one really cares, doesn't mean that you get to threaten me or anyone else. So, I get people following me. And it's another clearly fake account. Sorry about that. Well, okay, so I don't think he made a fake profile for me. He made a fake profile because he was getting called out for, if it's the guy that I think of, he was harassing other people under his real account. And everybody got very smart to it. So he created this fake account where he's now trying to influence this case. And yeah, none of these people are incredibly smart. There is proof of all this stuff. Like, they'll be able to prove who did it and whatnot. A lot of nuts up there. Yeah, there's a lot of dummies. You know, these people think they're slick. It's like, no, you're not. This is exactly John and Lynette all over again. And I do have to laugh about John and Lynette calling the cops on Tubetown again because they can't keep their dogs in their yard. Like, and that always amazed me. Like, I've got my dog. I've never had a major problem. Like, occasionally your dog might get out, like once or twice. But I notice with a lot of these people who are just irresponsible dog owners, they can't keep their dogs ever under control. And that's what John and Lynette are. They're bad animal caregivers. Can't control any of their stuff. That's why all the turtles are dying. Yeah. There's out here, there's a lot of similarities to Otter Creek. That was a big reason why, you know, when Jeremy was talking about the stuff, that why I was so interested. One thing I wish Jeremy would talk more about. If you remember when Jeremy and George, when they first moved to Otter Creek, and they were trying to get all the tweakers off their property. If you remember, there were a couple instances of Jeremy doing videos of things burning down. And I remember in the one mayor, well, now mayor's then, was there, and they were talking about it being arson. So I wish people would talk more about that. What, who do they think it was? What were the circumstances? And that's how these people operate. If they can't intimidate you that way, they will try to intimidate you physically. But they're not smart people. They think they cover their tracks. They don't. In fact, it's like, I just watched a documentary, the Pike County murders, a family massacre. Now that happened in Ohio, not incredibly far, like less than an hour drive from where I have family members. And that was the case in 2016 where 8 family members were all killed. And I remember initially they thought it was because there was a marijuana grow on the property, and because of the brutality and all the adults were killed. They thought it was a cartel hit, dealing with fentanyl and a bad drug deal. But really, what they got evidence of, it was just down to a custody hearing. But what's funny is these people think they're smarter than the system, and they tried to cover everything up, and like they took the guns and they put them in concrete, and then you know as boat anchors, and left them in a in a pond. Remember in the academy they told us if it wasn't for stupid people who wouldn't catch anyone. Yeah, right. Like, but yeah, these people, it's just dumb. It's just fucking dumb, the shit they do. So I laugh, and it's like they always think they're smart. They're you know, there's a buddy of mine who I really badly want to have on the podcast. He used to work for Steven Crowder. If you're familiar with Steven Crowder's show, um, he is a counselor. He's got his PhD, and I've invited him on the show many times. He's a former Marine. He was supply, I was logistics, so we knew each other. Um, and he he and I we talk about that one quote by oh, Bertrand Russell. Of the problem is that the wise people always second guess themselves, and the dumb people are convinced of their intelligence. So always be very wary when someone talks about how smart they are, because yeah, that's not the hallmark of a smart person. They might have a lot of education, but education doesn't equal intelligence. It just, especially in today's uh, secondary education world, it just means that you had enough money and you had enough time. Um, you can get professors to push it right along. And as we've seen in many high profile cases, you can fake your and plagiarize your PhD. So always be wary of these people. Out here, I'm not dealing with PhD people. I'm dealing with dummies. Jeremy's dealing with dummies. I mean, Marla. Oh my God. Marla Hughes. Uh, she gives. I wish I could make. I wish I could give her the joy that her posts give me, because they're always so incredibly bad. Same thing with Shara. Like, you'll as you read, they are convinced of how smart they are. You can buy your PhD at UCLA. I heard. Yeah, yeah. That's. Um, but you see some patterns with them. For instance, they'll argue today point A, and when it no longer works for them in a week, they'll argue on the side of point B, even though it's completely counter to point A. I remember the first time I came across Marla was a year ago, when Mary DeGroot had stepped down as Otter Creek town clerk, and Russ canceled the meeting. And it was before the interview on. This was on the Chiefland. It was on the Chiefland newspapers thing, and it was really before the interview with the news station went out. And she was arguing with me, trying to tell me that the meeting was canceled because Jeremy had invited so many outsiders, and they couldn't all fit inside of the town hall. Like, you could go back and look at that story and look in the comments, and that's what she. And now, if you use that, she'll argue completely something different, and that's how these people are. That's why I don't worry about them. Um, I don't. Yeah, like, oh, you're gonna take me to court? Okay, Steve, take me to fucking court. Take me to court, dude. I would love. I like. Do you know how much content that will bring my channel? To take me to court for defamation when you're literally posting as a fake account. Steve with an X instead of a V. Bring it on, Steve. That's, you know, I don't always want to troll online. They just make it so damn easy. Like, okay, Steve. Uh, the fact that these people think Lynette is innocent shows their cognitive inadequacy. It's funny because that you're very correct, but they try to act like they have some grand plan that they're going to do this plan right. And, this is what they're going to do, and everybody's playing. They're playing chess when everyone else is playing checkers, right? But you see it with Willis. They can't get at Jeremy now. That's pretty much run its course. Now it's backfiring on them. So what are they trying to do now? Now they're trying to harass Willis while he's at Tubetown. Keep calling the sheriff because they can't control their stupid dogs. The only thing I will say is at least they don't have pit bulls. But I think they don't have pit bulls because they know pit bulls are inherently dangerous and will kill all the animals. But that's the other thing. Pit bulls are the official breed of stupid people. I just watched another video of someone. I always love it when it's white women who they don't need a man, but they need a big dog to keep them safe. It's like, just buy a gun, bitch. Buy a gun and train with your gun. But they get these dogs that they can't control. And I remember there was one of two pit bulls who attacked Jack Russell on the beach here in California. Yeah, and this woman, she couldn't control one dog, and she had two of them. It's just these stupid people, and they just get others hurt, but it's never their fault. Never their fault. Yeah, it's all in how you raise them, but it's like, oh, okay, so this is the official breed of bad dog raisers. Dogs are animals. You you can't fully control them, but you can control them. You know, same thing with horses. Women love their fucking horses, and you know, I've known people killed because horses are a wild animal, and like I know a little. I'm not gonna get too into it because it's a family friend, but I know of a little girl who was quite literally trampled by several horses because she went to go close the gate. And these are animals. They don't know, but according to these people, oh, I look in their eyes and I can see everything about them. They're animals at the end of the day. I love my service dog. Love her to death. I'm also cognizant that she is an animal and needs to be controlled by me to a certain extent. The left is freaking out about Jerry Seinfeld this morning. I'm loving it. But yeah, you see these patterns, and it's people who just never want to take responsibility. That's if that's one thing I can say that our society is currently losing. It's the idea of self responsibility and self realization. If I'm a bit slow today, it's because the cat didn't let me sleep in. I was up late, and he was taking me not sleeping in as a personal offense, I believe, because he was pissed. uh, but yeah, that's you see these people over and over and over. Same stuff. Oh, you're gonna come at me with a fake account? Good luck. Oh, you work for Jeremy Hales and Tug, and you've been tracking all these people. Okay, okay. Just go to a therapist, people. Just go to a therapist. I also love how people were posting. Oh, maybe I can find it. Why is Jeremy so infatuated with John Crook's ass? It's like, did you not hear what he said? He was talking about how John Crook keeps talking about Jeremy's ass, things he wants to shove up Jeremy's ass. It's like, I don't think Jeremy's the one that's obsessed. Um, sorry, I'm trying to look for the post here. um, I'm having a hard time finding it. Having a hard time finding it. Sorry. But yeah. But I mean, it's you see it all over. It's kind of like it's kind of like that thing of you know I've heard people say, and it's absolutely true. The ones who tell you they don't need therapy are the ones who need therapy. That is the God's honest truth. You know, because the ones oh damn it, the ones who say they don't need therapy have zero self realization. They can't look at their lives and think maybe the issues that they're having are self inflicted. Uh, okay. I'm going to have me a bagel this morning. I once heard about uh, Barry Manilow that he had a beagle named Bagel. Uh, everything is sore today. Good morning, numismatic. Welcome, welcome. Did you know that Barry Manilow had a beagle named Bagel? All right, let me get there. There we go. Good morning. I'm on live stream. Um, so yeah, my bagel will pop up here in a minute. Put some peanut butter on it. These animals. Trying to think what else is going on. I was looking through what was trending this morning. The Kentucky Derby was a three-way photo finish. I really don't care about horse racing. Been to them, lost some money on them. All right, let's see. Israel removed Al Jazeera from operating out of Palestine. No? Yeah. Not surprised by that one. Cinco de Mayo. Happy Cinco de Mayo, everyone. I thought about putting that in the title of this, but I didn't. Vlad. Why is Vlad? I don't get why that is DJ Vlad is a Fed because he's at Princeton. I don't know who this is. I'll have to look up about it, but it's trending. DJ Vlad. Apparently he's somebody. There we go. And here comes the cat to try to eat my bagel. This is my bagel. Did you know that Barry Manilow had a beagle named Bagel?
That's kind of cute.
All right, making my breakfast. Get out of the peanut butter, cat. I was listening to Bert Kreischer yesterday, and it was pretty funny because he was talking about how cats are when you adopt a cat, it's like inviting a hobo into your house, because if it's been out on the street, they've seen some shit, and that ain't gonna go away anytime soon from that. Oh, I was dying laughing at that. I'll slide around in here. Oh, sorry. All right. So you won the Kentucky Derby numismatic? Were you betting on it? The Veterans Independence Program. Which one is that one? Is that because of living overseas? Yeah, veteran care for most countries is pretty screwed up. And I'm shocked at how much we haven't learned the lessons of the past. That's if you notice, the World War II veterans, they had problems of PTSD, but it didn't affect them as much as the Vietnam War. And a lot of that was because they all traveled as units, and you were like the deployments and everything were as units, which we've done in Iraq and Afghanistan. But what we didn't do is we didn't have any time of the units like when I came back from Afghanistan, it was we came back, everybody went to their families and left. What we should be doing is bringing all these units to somewhere, and it can be another foreign base, or you can put it in Hawaii, just somewhere where you're not going to give them a ton of liberty time, and allow them months to kind of decompress with all the people they were in the stressful wartime situations with. That decompression, you saw this with British soldiers. They're doing this and have done this for years, and they don't have the big problems of PTSD. They come back from a deployment as a unit. They go out to the field, and they spend that unit, and they get that chance to decompress. And that way, if someone's still dealing with any residual things, everyone there has gone through it, and everybody there understands what the issues were. So you don't have to relive that trauma trying to explain it to someone else. And we haven't figured that out. We have to keep learning these lessons over and over and over again. Yesterday I was watching a Vietnam veteran talk about that. They didn't even come home as a unit. They just came home by themselves. or 20 or 30 other guys that they didn't even know. So you don't have that trauma bonding experience. But that's what you're seeing is that people got the Kentucky Derby was in going on, everybody wrapped up in hockey here. I don't blame it though. I love hockey. Veterans with a significant disability are given the VIP, which gives them cash outlet, approximately $6,000 a year. 2 payments cover housekeeping and lawn care. That's not bad. But you know, we need to start doing some of these things that other countries do better to deal with PTSD. Happy Cinco de Mayo. Um, I went on an unfollowing spree on Twitter this morning. If someone says they follow back, I'll follow them. But I also wait a couple days and I go back and I look because some of these people are sneaky. They'll follow you back right away. Then a couple hours later, they'll unfollow you. Look, if I'm not continually liking your stuff, you're probably not interesting enough on Twitter for me to follow you and you not follow me back. So I probably unfollowed about 30 people this morning. I wouldn't say it didn't affect the World War II vets. They spent more time drinking in the Legion, didn't have operational stress, injury support that younger soldiers have. They had PTSD, but they didn't have the like how we're going through with the suicides. They didn't experience that as much. There were things, but they did have an, I wouldn't even call it an easier time. They had a better time with a support structure because they were able to spend that time decompressing with people they had trauma bonded with. So that's what I'm saying. As a Legion member, we should get with the times. Lies should have computer, or at least should have computer stations, exercise room, better food, catering to the younger folks. I could agree with that. The problem is, these legions, they say they want younger members, but then they really don't want to do this stuff. You retweet the whistleblower video. Thank you so much, Mercedes. In fact, I had people reach out to me. They asked what they can do on that, and um, here I'll post what they can do. Hold on, where's that? So, if you want to help me as a whistleblower, you can contact, obviously, Inspector General of the Marine Corps, or you can also contact the TCOM, the Training and Education of the Marine Corps Command, General Iams. Their number there is 703-784-3730. Again, that's 703-784-3730. But I'm not telling you to contact them. Only do if that's what you feel you need to. Because, yeah, I'm not going to be out there saying that. I don't want them to say that I was out there encouraging people to call. If you want to help and that's what you want to do, that's what you do. You can also always contact the Inspector General of the Marine Corps, the Inspector General of the DoD. Those are all official things. I am in fear of. So when these fakers like Steve, spelled with an X, come at me, that doesn't scare me. People who have attacked me, like Hal Sellers, they scare me. I will end up, if they don't stop him, I'm going to end up seriously injured or dead. I every time I'm on that base, I feel very much at unease. Like I have to look over my shoulder because I don't know I don't know if he's told the MPs. He's in charge of the MPs. He could have told the MPs to come at me, that they think I'm armed and dangerous. They could be putting me into very unsafe situations. Our troops, or that's an interesting term, trauma bonding, makes a lot of sense. Oh yeah, it is. That's where kids of abusive parents, they trauma bond beyond their sibling bond. I know our troops coming back from Afghanistan used to decompress in Cyprus. Did you do much the same? No, we just came back and we were just scattered to the wind. We never got to decompress. We went straight to training when we got home, at least for me. I was in aviation. We were given our leave because you get your post deployment leave. So you immediately leave with your family. But beyond that, no. I really think we should, like the British soldiers, they were telling me, they're like, yeah, they send us out to the field, but they also send us with a couple kegs, and we kind of just sit around and drink and talk for like a week or two. And to me, that actually makes sense because it's a way to process what happened to you with people who went through the same thing. I think it's important if you type that in DM on Twitter for me. Okay, yeah, I'll send it to you. Twitter's very busy. Here's why I will never give up Twitter. Twitter is the fastest with news than any other place. You'll find news faster on Twitter than anything else. The only social media I think that could compete is locals. I'm going to send it to you right now, Mercedes. But that's only do that if that's what you want to do. I don't want to be accused of telling people what to do. Do your conscience. But, and make, the thing about it is I believe I'm in danger. I 100% believe I am in danger. The one I'm disappointed with is Facebook. We have a lot of regimental associations on there. We now have serious restrictions thanks to our government and what you can and can't say. Yeah, sadly, the Canadian government has abandoned free speech, and I really do feel for you. I do want to do that. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. You don't know how much I appreciate that, Mercedes. You know, and I just want people to know that I believe I'm in danger. I have a legitimate belief that I am in danger. I've already been attacked, and that's they don't want to face this reality. Hmm. Trump campaign is suing Nevada for accepting mail ballots after Election Day. If those ballots are postmarked before Election Day, they should be counted. If they're postmarked after Election Day, sorry, you didn't get it in on time. Election Day should be a national holiday. Absolutely should be. I'm just looking up the stories. Um, yeah, I got a guy getting mad at me because so there's Russian and U.S. troops on the same base in Niger, and they showed pictures of the two groups dancing. And I said, Russia's not our enemy. They're not. The Russian people were very friendly with me. Um, the Russian soldiers I came into contact with, I was very friendly with. Um, the people who are trying to tell you that there are enemies, be skeptical of them. There's nothing that they can point to, nothing that shows them as our enemies. It, I can show them as enemies of Ukraine and other countries, and yeah, that's true, but not the U.S. We should be creating peace. We should be getting them all to talk right now. But there's a certain conglomerate within the U.S. who it's within their financial interest for there to be uh, fights with Russia. Um, I'm looking to see what else is trending here. I don't know who Joe Anderson is. Let's take a look at this one. In danger. That goes well beyond being. I am in danger. Yep, I definitely am. Well, a Veterans Affairs. He's seen the video. He has seen the video of me being attacked, and he'll tell you I was straight up attacked from behind. Russia is a threat, not an enemy. They are NATO's enemy, not the U.S. That's my opinion. I can agree with that. Yeah. NATO's pretty much useless other than as a way to make money. It's a way to keep American companies working. That's what NATO. That's what NATO is. That's why there's NATO standards. So we sell weapons to other countries that are NATO weapons, so that we can then sell them NATO rounds and NATO parts. It's a big scheme to keep American companies working, and to some extent UK companies, French, all the others who do sell stuff to NATO. Um, yeah, Russia's a threat, not an enemy. You know, there's lots of countries. I would say Israel. I'm a big supporter of Israel in the Palestinian conflict, but I would say Israel is a threat, but not an enemy. A friend can be a threat because they have their own things that are important to them and their security, which could be counter to our security, and we have to always look at that. Um, Now, I will say this: Hamas is an enemy of the U.S. They absolutely are. They have taken American hostages. Uh, they've worked with Hezbollah. They have hijacked planes in the past, held our people for longer than what was ever needed. And this is all historical stuff. Isn't that we could strive for going through the Cold War and everything? I'm heartbroken at what's going on in the world today. I remember a time when NATO countries had their own standards for equipment, right down to fuel hookups for ships. It was insane. So I think it's one of the pluses is standardization. It is a plus, but when it gets to the point of we are encouraging outside conflict in order for us to sell more things, yeah, that's wrong. 100% Skipper was attacked. I wish everyone could see the video. A person tried to come behind him, but Skipper was faster than his attacker. Yeah. He did get his hands on me. He shoved me from behind and screamed at me. But I turned around and started swinging immediately, uh, all to defend myself. The video will come out. Well, I've got court at the end of the month. The video will come out. The question is, will the Marine Corps do something before the video comes out to the public? Will they do the right thing on their own, or do we have to hold them accountable to do the right thing? That's the question. Maybe one day I'll post some of my pictures from when I was in Russia. I thought it was fascinating seeing all the Soviet worker statues next to a McDonald's or a Starbucks. I thought that was hilarious. But that's when I realized they don't hate us. Um, you know, we were two peoples who were told our whole lives we need to hate the other. And they don't hate us, and most of us don't hate them. As the question of accountability, will more than likely have to hold them accountable. Yeah. But the more that they know that you're aware, dog, I heard you fart. Gross. Yeah, the more that we're going to have to hold them accountable. Um, and it's sad because being a Marine used to mean doing the right thing. Very sad. That's the state of the Marine Corps currently. Our armed forces in the U.S. have deteriorated. Things like honor no longer matter. And it's because today's leadership, it doesn't matter to them. They're not honorable. But yeah, this base clearly, I know for a fact, Veterans Affairs Media made this base aware, and they were openly hostile to them. So when that happens, we have to go above them in the chain of command. So that's why the number I sent to you, Mercedes, if that's what you want to do, is to training and education command for the Marine Corps. General IAMS, IIAMS. I believe that's how you pronounce it. I could be screwing it up. I'm looking through the training here again. I feel sorry for Joe Anderson. I don't know who he is. Something about a car. I don't know who this is. We're gonna have to hold them accountable, do the right thing, beginning with H and ends with Hal Sellers. Yeah, Kelly. It's Bemis, Bemis. He is the deputy IG of 29 Palms. I already have it in writing. I did a congruent years ago, and he told the Office of Legislative Affairs that Mr. Arthur just won't take no for an answer. Since then, let's see, they violated my HIPAA. That was an IG complaint made to him, never investigated. Kahanu contacted him about the video of me being attacked. He was openly hostile, and I guarantee you he never made. I guarantee you he didn't make a report of that complaint. Guaranteed. He is, for him to be the deputy IG. He's a retired sergeant major, so that's why he's so cocky. Uh, but yeah, for him to not make a complaint, that is like, that's, as an IG, that's the biggest thing you do. You need to document every complaint, because documenting it, even if you don't investigate it, document will show you trends. If someone's a problem, the same person keeps getting complaints on them, that shows you there's a problem here. But yeah, they like to think that everything is a coincidence. Speaking of honorable, did you hear about General Malley ordering Pentagon officials to disregard all orders from Trump in his last days? Now, okay, now that's a case of where they should recall him on active duty and court-martial him for that. That is a case of that. Will they do it? Probably not. But until we have people start holding these people accountable, it's not going to happen. That's why I keep saying, like, with all of these protests, okay, these protests are being organized across state lines, and they're breaking the law. That makes them chargeable under RICO, the Racketeering and Organized Crime Act. So what we need to do is start putting pressure on our state attorney generals, because the Department of Justice ain't going to do anything. But you need to start contacting your attorney generals and telling them you need to investigate these groups, because that is organized crime across state lines. I have to run. Thank you for allowing me to hang out. Hey, anytime, brother. Anytime. Supposedly. Well, I mean, again, let's do an investigation. Let's find out. It's The people who fight against investigations, they want to see no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil. That's what that is. That is 100% what that is. Um, you should never be scared of an investigation. Like, I've been threatened so many times with investigations in my career, and I always welcomed it because I didn't feel I did anything wrong. You never want to have the appearance of impropriety. Just the appearance of impropriety is improper. So that's why whenever anyone said, "Well, we're going to investigate this," good, good, let's do it because I didn't do anything wrong, and that'll show that. So I don't want there to be an appearance. But really, what you found, the people threatening you, it was just an empty threat. They didn't have anything on you. They were just trying to, just like Steve with an X, who sends me threatening DMs saying that he's going to take me to court for slander, which when it's written, it's actually libel. But yeah, it's like, okay, well, take me to court. Do you guys realize what if you're going to sue someone for defamation, slander, libel, any of that? Do you realize what you need to do? You got to prove that whatever the person's saying is untrue. Well, being all the stuff that I said was already reported in news sources, I had a reasonable belief that it was true. So right there alone would be, if you were to take me to court, that's a defense. I had more than enough things out there for me to, as a reasonable person, believe it was true. So they have to prove that it was a lie and that I knew it was a lie. Then they have to uh, show that I was doing it maliciously. Well, if they can prove that I am lying, that doesn't necessarily show maliciousness, but it can. Maliciousness just means I'm doing this because I hate that person. Um, as far as the case of Troy Reynolds, I don't hate Troy Reynolds. I didn't even know about him until this. I do hate that people who are close to him are harassing people. That's what I do hate. But I'm not even holding Troy Reynolds accountable for that. I want these people held accountable. I want there to be a fair and impartial jury. And what these people are doing by attacking people is they are trying to influence a jury pool, in my opinion. And then the third thing they need to do for defamation, and this is always seems to be the hardest one, is they have to prove damages. So like with Jeremy and George, okay, they're suing John and Lynette in federal court for defamation. So we have the signs, we have all the stuff that Lynette was doing, all the posts she made, um, calling Jeremy a child rapist without anything. That means they knew it was false. It was something that they can. Now, with their case, those signs and the fact that they knew it was false does add to their the fact that it was malicious. Uh, Add in her comments about trying to get money from his fans shows extortion, an extortion scheme, which also aids to maliciousness. So they can prove the maliciousness. Now, when it gets to court, if it's not settled, it'll be okay. Well, what damages did Jeremy incur or potentially incur? And with it'll be very easy, I think, for Jeremy to show that because uh, with all the people who've jumped in, who've said nasty things about him, um, with her trying to get him and George put in jail, I, through her lies, he can show damages. He can show that he's had to pay all this money just to get her to shut up. So he has incurred damages. So that's going to be, in my opinion, a very slam dunk case. I think when Lynette and John finally do talk to an attorney, they're going to say, settle this. Settle this, give this guy whatever the hell he wants. Um, Now, the question is going to be, will Jeremy want to settle? Um, Most times it is more advantageous to settle just because it ends. And paying for lawyers is very, very expensive. Um, so yeah, that's where all these people, they're like, oh, that's a lie. I'm suing for defamation. Good luck. Good luck, because most times you're not going to find an attorney willing to take on that case. And primarily because you can't meet all of the elements of legal defamation. And you see that time and time and time again. But yeah, some of these people, again, we go back to they're convinced of their own intelligence rather than others being convinced of their intelligence. They think they know better. And it's like, okay, uh, go right ahead. I guess I'll drink without sugar. I ran out of Equal today, so I think I'm going to Costco. Get more Equal. Something stinks around here. I bet it's the litter box. I think I have to clean the litter box. I normally clean the litter box on Sundays. So that would make sense if that's what it is. I should sue my doctor for defamation. That would be awesome. You may be able to. Oh, so we know what she said about you is a lie. I think we could easily prove maliciousness. And you have had some damages. So yeah, you could. Here's the problem with a lot of these civil rights things: finding good attorneys. A lot of attorneys don't want to take on civil rights cases. And you heard, if you followed the DUI guy, Jeremy Hales, Larry has talked about he is not a civil rights attorney, but he did say maybe I should start taking civil rights cases. He was doing DUI cases because that's where the money is. People getting DUIs all the time. But yeah, we need some good civil rights attorneys. In fact, a friend of mine reached out to me. They're doing an amicus brief to the Supreme Court, and they're looking for an attorney to do that. And he was asking me what connections I have. I don't have. I've interviewed some people, but talking to someone, that way is one thing. You really, you know, really they need to just start contacting attorneys. Uh, when you want someone to take your idea and run with it, it's going to be incredibly hard. You have to convince them that one, you have a strong case or a strong, your opinion is going to be, accepted. Because no lawyer wants to run into the Supreme Court with an amicus brief on something that they don't believe in. This is kind of, I've given several groups advice about doing campaign plans. And this is where people believe their message is strong. You know, you have to, in some ways, be trusted. And I'll give an example of my own, me being attacked. I have not talked about the harassment that I've endured over the years. It started really, I would say, 2016. I could show stuff before that, but it was just like little stuff. But 2016 is when Marine Corps personnel really started getting involved. And I haven't discussed it. I've alluded to it on, like the show and stuff, but I really didn't get into any depth. But uh, as a consequence of doing the show and, me helping people through this medium, bringing on veterans like a Veterans Affairs media, talking about what happened to him, that in a way has lended me legitimacy. when I start talking about veteran issues, people will listen, because I've lived it. I've helped people with it. I talk about it. And I'm the first to say when I don't know something, I'll be like, I don't really know a whole lot about it. So I don't go too far out on the limb. Like I really do try to stay within the framework of what I know. And, that has lended me some legitimacy. There are people that, if I start talking about a veteran's issue, they're gonna listen. Um, they might not agree with me, but they'll at least pay attention because they know that I'm talking about, something that I know stuff about. Thank you for allowing me to come up and share my story and actually help me open up about it and share more. Exactly, that right there. By Kahanu talking about what was going on, I'm sure he feels better. By me talking about this stuff and helping others, I feel better. It's helped my PTSD. But it has, I wouldn't say I'm an expert by any means, but there are people who I know talk to other veterans and they're like, oh, you should talk with Mike or watch his show. And I know that because people reached out and said, hey, so and so told me to check out your show. I'm having these issues. And, we're able to talk about them. So, the fact that I've done these type of stories, and I'm fully willing to do anything on harassment and corruption because as a veteran, I fought for this country to be better. I don't want to see a corrupt government. So if I talk about harassment and corruption, I know there's a lot of people who, we've talked about on this show about First Amendment auditors. First Amendment auditors, whether you like them or hate them, they definitely shine a light to harassment and corruption many times because even if you don't like what they do, you should at least respect they have the right to it, and some people don't respect that right. So when I highlight these things, it tells the overall community I'm supportive on these things. So then when I start telling you all I've been harassed and I have been attacked and I can prove it, and I've given out little bits and nuggets of the proof over the years, you all know I'm not BSing you. Kano, he's seen the video. He's telling you Mike's 100% correct. Um, so, for me, it's about being truthful because that makes you trusted. Um, that wasn't my goal of doing this show. My goal of doing this show was just to help people. My goal of the nonprofit was just to help people. But I do recognize that doing this stuff makes me trusted to a certain extent. And likewise on the government, when I have people like the deputy IG of 29 Palms, Kelly Bemis, who says, oh yeah, that guy he won't take no for an answer. That shows me that he is not trusted. He will not investigate anything if it comes from me because I won't take no for an answer. That's a horrible, to be an IG, that's a horrible attitude. I used to work in an IG's office. That that's a bad attitude to have because it's bias. It's without being able to say it's bias. Um, and your investigators should not be biased. Your investigators should come into every complaint, every um, incident with, okay, yeah, I do know the history, and that might be there, but what is it about this? What happened here? And that's where a lot of people they get mad about the court system. Like the one I remember was Kyle Rittenhouse. People were mad that the judge wouldn't allow his previous posts in, and they were like, "Well, that shows how he felt." They have to look at that incident. They can't be biased by the stuff from before. That incident has to be, you. If this was where the law was broken, we have to look at it through this. You can't bring in these other things. Definitely not fair and impartial. Yes, absolutely, Kano. So yeah, you have to, look at that. You have to isolate that incident from everything else. And if you can't find guilt in with that isolated, then it's, that's the way our system is designed. But you get people who don't understand that. You get people who just want to inject all this history into it, and it's like, well, now you're not looking at the facts; you're bringing in emotion. And through all the years where I was harassed and I made all those complaints, I don't think they realized what I was doing. In their eyes, I was being a problem child. That was not my goal. Uh, my goal was one thing: to make them my record keeper. Because with all these things going, I was like, okay, I'll do a complaint. I know they're not going to investigate it, but they have to keep record of that complaint because it was escalating, and then it calmed down for a bit, and then these two individuals decided to escalate it again. But I have all my IG complaints. I have all my FOIA requests. I've got my EO complaint. Like, all that is a matter of record. It's all a matter of record. And that's what TCOM should be investigating. Like, okay, we have this pattern now over time. You can't use those to affect this incident, but you can then say, okay, well, he said he's been being harassed. All is the harassment over the years. And, the fact that I'm helping other people who are being harassed, shows that I don't stand for this stuff. And, I'm willing to let the past go, but when they keep coming back to me and escalating things, I can't let the past go. They're not letting the past go. When I made a complaint and they said we're not investigating it, I moved on. And then they did something else, and then it was a new complaint. They didn't investigate again. I moved on. But you can only move on so much until they stop letting you move on. When they attack me and they put me in daily fear of attack, there's no moving on from that. There's no moving on. It's a daily thing. I remember back about 20 years ago, I did a report in court for the second ball staff sergeant, and he got reprimanded and slapped down to corporal for harassment of a civilian. Yeah, yeah. And, with this individual, he's a retired colonel. That's the other thing about the military that's been really sad, and this has been going on for probably the last 10 to 15 years. It used to be the higher in rank you were, if you did something, the bigger the punishment because you knew better. Because you knew better. Now, they're letting the top people slide on things, but then when a junior enlisted does something, they're fucking throwing them to the wolves. And that's a major problem because all that junior enlisted did is he's following exactly what his leadership has taught him to do. Because that's what the leadership is doing. So how are you going to hold him accountable for things his leaders are doing? That I've seen that so many times, and it's sad. I can't tell you how many times I had to go to bat for Marines, and some of these Marines don't even know about it, where someone was out to get them. They were out to get them, and they wanted to hold them accountable for shit that was like, what? Like, that's not even a big deal, but that's what you're going to get mad about. And this is what happens. This is the problems of today's military. And yeah, like, I had to protect Marines from other more senior Marines many times. And then you see a lieutenant colonel, a major, or colonel do something wrong, and or a mass sergeant or a master sergeant, and they're like, no, that's all right. That used to always bother me, and I never tried to stand for it. I always tried to, whenever I saw it and identified it, I always tried to fight against it. Hopefully people, and I think a lot of my Marines recognize that about me. And the reason I believe that is because when there were things going wrong, there were Marines who weren't even in, didn't even work for me, who came to me to tell me. And I think that was because they believed I would do the right thing. And I can't think of a case where one of my Marines um, went to someone out, outside of my chain. Like there were times where like they didn't come to me, but they went to like Marines that worked for me, and that was perfectly fine. I'm glad that they felt that they could come forward. Um, but yeah, uh, I can't think of a case where they went outside of the chain of command to tell something gone wrong. I mean, I wouldn't have been mad if they did. I just would have been like, okay, well, what have I done to not have their trust? But I can't think of any cases where that happened. Um, but there were definitely cases of people who Marines who did not work for me came to me to say, hey, this is wrong. Like this is happening. And I think that was because they knew I would do the right thing. You know, I would report it. I would, you know, I would make official record of it. That's a big thing. When people report things and they do it verbally, and then so and so doesn't report it, they never told me that. That's and that's where I had that one Marine who told me, Mike, you should always, whenever you talk to someone about something, send yourself an email. That's where something like that. You report something up, send yourself an email and be like, I reported this to this person. And I actually, in the case of my HIPAA, I actually did that. Um, we had to do some investigative work because I had this government employee who said, well, his COVID test was negative, and I was like, huh? How do they know what my COVID test is? And then I had to do with another Marine. We had to do some detective work and look through. Um, um, sure, sure. I just got your text. Sure, absolutely. Feel free. Um, Here, in fact, I'll send this. There we go. So, um, sorry about that. Um, what was I talking about? Uh, yeah, when people they would come to me for stuff to tell me, I'm sorry, I was on the case of the HIPAA. So yeah, we did some investigative work and we went through the chain, and there was only one person who I knew in the reporting chain about my COVID test, my negative COVID test, and that was Hal Sellers. He ran the base COVID response desk was underneath him. Now, here's where they screwed up. This individual that reported my test was doing it to try to defame me, to say that I never had COVID, and my negative test proved it. It's not what the test was for. The test was because I had been sent home sick for 2 weeks, and my test was to prove I no longer had it so I could come back to work. And that's why I legally had to give that information to the government. It should have been legally protected both by Family and Medical Leave Act and HIPAA, because those are the two acts that oversee your employer and the government protecting your medical records. But instead, that medical information was leaked, so that the person who leaked it, who most likely is Hal Sellers, he's the only person in the reporting chain who knew who I was. Him leaking it is one violation, and then the person that he leaked it to released it, and that's the second violation. So that's two violations of FMLA and HIPAA. But Kelly Bemis, the deputy IG of 29 Palms, this was all reported to him. He emailed me and said, "Hey, we want to interview you about this." I said, "Sure." I have an attorney representing me. Their name is da 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 da. That was my response. Nothing else. No, because I had an attorney, they didn't want to talk to me. So because I had an attorney, they did not want to do the right thing. They didn't want to investigate. See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. Because they knew something would have needed to be done. But, and again, that was November of 2020. They didn't do anything. I was willing to go on. I was willing to move on. And then Hal Sellers decided to attack me. So, oh, thank you for posting that, Donna. Yeah, yeah. McKeag C-29 Palms is General Savage, but he's a member. That command is a member of Training and Education Command, and that's General. It's actually, I believe it's IAM. IIAM. Yeah, Hal Sellers, the Director of Mission Assurance for 29 Palms. That he's the one who attacked me. He's in charge of the MPs. We've been talking about a lot of stuff. So currently, we're talking about how I was attacked by Hal Sellers. He's the 29 Palms Director of Mission Assurance. So the MPs and fire department fall underneath him, the safety stuff. He attacked me. So every day that I'm on that base, I live in fear that he will attack me again or have someone else attack me, like an MP. The MPs of this base, they've they shot a guy back in October. He tried to come through he tried to run the gate, which is a crime, and they should have absolutely arrested him. But they shot him. They used lethal force, and he was unarmed. That's the problem. And then another guy in January, I believe it was. It was December or January. Ran the gate, and they were chasing him down, and they pit maneuvered the wrong vehicle, and they put 3 kids in the hospital, one of which passed away. That's the type of leadership they have, and when you have bad leadership, this is the type of things that trickle down. So yeah, Hal Sellers thinks it's perfectly fine to attack people, and the base didn't investigate because they said, well, it happened off base. Got to read Marine Corps order. Marine Corps order 5354.1 Foxtrot. Any type of physical or verbal intimidation is harassment. And the thing is, it does not, it just says if it occurred. It does not distinguish between on base or off base. So yeah, they can't go home and start calling me. They can't be driving by my house trying to intimidate me. That all is violation. But yet the base said, no, that happened off base. We can't do anything about it. This is a director of the base. It would be one thing if it was someone low level. No, this is this guy reports directly to the general. He gives advice to the general. That's the problem. So a guy who thinks it's okay to attack people is giving advice to the general. Guess what kind of advice you think he's given to the general? And so that's why, I'm not saying anyone call. If you feel the need to call to hold the Marine Corps accountable, obviously Connor's posted some people who you can definitely call. You can also contact DODIG. You can also contact the Inspector General of the Marine Corps. You can do all that if that's what you choose to do. I'm not telling you to do anything. I've already done my reports. I'll say this: if you know of anyone at 29 Palms, if anyone, civilian, military, I believe they're in danger. I believe I'm in danger. That's that's the type of people these are. Now, out here in town, I started talking. I had a guy locally who has been trying to intimidate me through fake accounts on Facebook. He was trying to say that he's going to take me to court. Now, that's just a knucklehead. I don't feel that guy. I don't see anything where that guy's going to do anything to me. He's just talking tough online. It's one of these guys that are tough. You know, the moment you see him in person, they're not tough at all. They just talk a lot. Um, that I'm not worried about one bit. That's just that's awful. Sorry you went through that. Sorry I haven't been here in a couple weeks. My World War II vet grandfather passed away. He was 101 years old. You don't have to apologize to me, Sylvia. Whenever you're here, I am so thankful that you're here. I am very sorry about your grandfather. I bet he had some cool stories. I thank you for his service. Um, and the, you know, for those of you watching, if you have family members who are veterans, even if they weren't in a war, bring them to me. I want to talk to them. They have stories that they can share that we can preserve for future generations. And it's important. It's important as you're watching all these campus protests. I guarantee you, none of these protesters know that since 1977, Israel has done nothing but give up land in the hopes of peace. These students don't know that. They don't know their history. So that's why we have to preserve that history to be able to show them and say, look, you need to look at this. I just seen a doggy here. Yeah, I've got. That you know what? I think that might have been Kang because he came here, and I think that would have been his tail poking up. I've got Glory in here. Uh, my friend's staying with me right now. She's got her cat and her dog. Um, so Lily, the dog, is the one who he you know, might come in and show himself. Uh, this, um, hold on. But yeah, if any of you guys know of an attorney who's a civil rights attorney, I would love to get them in contact with Kahanu because yeah, if we can sue his doctor uh, for defamation, I think Connor, you have all that in your medical records. She put that into writing, so that makes it libel. Um, so yeah, if we can find an attorney, you know, I'll happily do a benefit or something down here to try to get you money to pay for a retainer. How can I send you a video? My cousin and sister videoed him telling a story when he tended the donkeys and mules at Camp Collins. Um, so in the description of this, there is my email, so we can talk via email. Um, if you have, depending on how big the file is, Dropbox and Google, not Google Docs, but Google Drive, I've used those quite a bit. So there are ways for me to get it and download it. But yeah, if you're okay with me publishing, I would love to, publish those stories. They're interesting. They're really interesting. I just shared a story. What was that? It was a couple guys talking. Um, what was that? I was just sharing. Uh, I watch so much stuff. I forget where. I think it was either on Instagram or YouTube, but it was a couple. I'm pretty sure it was a couple Navy SEALs talking about some stuff that happened. It was really fascinating. Oh, it's DUI guy's birthday. Oh, Larry, happy birthday! I'll tell you what. I'll record something and I'll push it out. I know he checks his Twitter, so I'll well maybe I'll do it on YouTube too. But I'll do a happy birthday to Larry. Um, but yeah, there's you see these things happen over and over, and that's why 29 Palms. I guarantee you, if you were to do a full investigation of 29 Palms and a full investigation of Fort Hood, you'd find the exact same things happening aboard each installation. Marine Corps Inspector General Captain M.K. Howard. Yep, there's his email. Yep. All you want is a thorough investigation. Yeah, that's not asking for any action. Yeah, these two numbers, the Kanus, those are they're higher up in the chain of command, but it shows the Marine Corps that we are watching and we are going to hold people accountable. That's what when you say that, when you do this, that's what it says. That's why I had a guy coming at me about the form letter I did on Amanda Martin, and he was like, "You shouldn't be doing this. Jeremy told you to stay out of it." Well, first off, that's not exactly what Jeremy said. Jeremy said, "Don't harass anybody," and I'm not contacting Amanda Martin. I have no intention of ever harassing anybody. Jeremy also said, "If you see something, say something." Well, um, the things that Jeremy has talked about, and that we know that happened with Steve the Rat, they're concerning enough to me that I will absolutely contact elected officials and appointed officials and tell them, are those Marine bases or do they have other branches there too? Um, so McCagsey 29 Palms is a Marine base. The two places that Kahanu has given, those are in the chain of command. One IGMC reports to the Commandant of the Marine Corps, and uh, TCOM is the command over McCagsey. Um, but yeah, the my complaint is with Hal Sellers, who attacked me, Kelly Bemis, and Dave Horn, who Dave Horn's the IG, Kelly Bemis is the deputy IG. They won't investigate. And veterans have contacted about the attack. I have not contacted the base through the IG about the attack. I have talked to the base via other means because there's multiple ways for things to be adjudicated. But several veterans told me they contacted the base. I said, "Hey, I appreciate you doing that," which then told me, "Okay, you take it to another avenue." But the base doesn't want to do anything about it. They said, "No, this attack happened off base." Well, they're forgetting all the other harassment that I've endured over the years that all happened on base. And if they're attacking me off base, they're it's not a far stretch to think that I'm going to be attacked on base. Like to attack someone, that is crossing a line. Like you are so badly crossing a line to put your hands on somebody. Um, and I invite you all here, if you go to the YouTube, um, under my playlist, um, I hit live, not playlist. Under my playlist, I have a playlist called Harassment and Corruption. Okay. And it's the very first video right there is a video where these two individuals who attacked me, they told the base I didn't have on base access. And they had me detained by MPs and held against my will for well over an hour. They denied me my 14th Amendment right, my Fifth Amendment right, my Fourth Amendment right, just like all the things that Jeremy. That's what a detention does. It does the same thing as what the legal injunction on Jeremy. Um, but they did all that to investigate a non-crime. They said you don't have base access, and I said I don't. You have my reserve ID. Like I was a drilling reservist. I, I was like, that alone gives me base access. Base Not having base access is not a crime. You do realize anyone here in this chat, anyone here, if you don't have base access and you said, "Hey, would you get me base access? I can sponsor you." Like I can do that because I'm a veteran. Because I'm because I'm a captain in the reserves. I can do that. Um, Please forgive my ignorance. Is this anything like a code red? No, it's not. So code red is essentially hazing. This wasn't hazing. This was intimidation and harassment. They were trying to intimidate me because all this harassment has always been about one thing: using the base to keep me away from my son. I really haven't talked too much about why I left active duty. That's why. the military can order you to do certain things, and it was getting very clear that um, the base was interfering and trying to keep me away from my child. So I left active duty. I never looked back. I made the right decision. Um, but yeah, they were. That was when I was on active duty. That was some of the problems going on then, and it was causing me panic attacks. It was causing me a lot of health issues, and I didn't want to put the Marines through that as well. So it was about me no longer being controlled. So I left active duty, but then it kept on. It kept on, and when it became clear that they, using the base wasn't affecting me, that's when these same individuals took it off base. That's what it was ultimately about, which is sad because me and my son have a great relationship. He loves me, I love him. We have a lot of fun together. I'm a great dad. He's a great son, um, straight A student, um, empathetic, very empathetic, very, um, very. One thing I can say that I have tried to put into him that I think I've done a great job is he's very justice minded. He says he wants to be a lawyer, so hey, good on him. But that's the underlying reason why all this has happened. It really doesn't matter um, because you know none of that matters. What matters is the government has been used to harass me, and then they physically attack me, and no one wants to investigate, and that's why I've asked for a thorough investigation. Any of you, if this bothers you, you should ask for a thorough investigation. Not ask for an outcome. We're not asking for outcomes. We're asking for a thorough investigation because we know that a thorough investigation will uncover wrongdoing. And if they push back against a thorough investigation, it's because they're trying to cover up. And the cover up is always worse than the crime. Always. But the sad thing is, they will attack me again. I fully believe they will attack me again. Um, because the reason why it's escalating it is because they've never been able to successfully intimidate me. That's I yeah, I refuse to be intimidated, and that's ultimately what bothers them. You know, it's always about control. Rarely is it not. Like in the military, when I was talking about whenever someone wanted to do something about those Marines, it's because they couldn't control those Marines. So sorry that you're going through this. I hope you get justice, even if it takes a while. I believe in God, and I believe that God does everything to us for a reason. I do that. I do believe that. So, and, all this harassment has led me to this show. It's why I do this show. When they approached me to do this show, um, they wanted me to talk about guns and to talk about, uh, combat and all the vet bro stuff. What gear should you wear? That's not me. I'm not that type of guy. For those that are, good on. Talk about that stuff. I said I would only do this show if I could help veterans. So the mission of this show and of VeteranNation Foundation is to help and entertain veterans, military, and their families. And it is this harassment that I've endured gave me the clarity to see that if it's happening to me, it's happening to many, many others. And when I speak out, I'm empowering them to speak out. When Kahanu speaks out about his fight with the VA, he's empowering others to speak out about their stuff with the VA, or at least fight back. Um, and that's why, you know, we get drawn together. is because we are fighting for the same things. Now everybody might have their own little piece of the pie, but it all comes together, and that's what's important. So I think that's what pisses people like Hal Sellers off the most, is that he couldn't, even when he tried to physically intimidate me, I successfully defended myself. But I think he's of the understanding now that he cannot intimidate me. Hey, good morning, Chris. Chris, you doing your show today? Chris does his show at 4:30 p.m. Sunday through Thursday, I believe. Correct? I don't know if he's doing a show today, but definitely check him out. C Stock 1976. Yeah, he's got a good show. He had me on it this week. It was fun. uh, but yeah, I think that's what ultimately pissed off Hal Sellers, is that he could not intimidate me. So that's why he put his hands on me. And now he knows, even through physical force, he can't intimidate me. It was really funny when my attorney watched the video. My attorney is really funny. She's a very short little Greek woman. She's from Greece, has a very thick accent, and she was like, "Mr. Arthur, watch that video." She said, "We put it up in the big screen." She goes, "Me and my staff must have watched it 40 times." And she goes, "You really clocked him." It's funny because it's hard to see. When you guys see the video, you'll see he shoves me, and I just immediately turn around and punch him. He punches me, which is very hard to see. In fact, when we were preparing um, for our court date, she was like, "He punched you? I didn't see that." And I was like, "Oh yeah, yeah." And like we started looking through like what do you call it? Not scene by scene, but like frame by frame. And I was like, "Right here, you can see his fist. It's right up here next to my head." And she's like, "I didn't notice that he punched you." I was like, "Well, it was a really weak punch." I go, "That's the first thing." And I go, "But, you know, you think as a colonel in the Marine Corps, he would have learned how to fight, because, I learned how to fight. When you throw a punch, it's not your arm, you're using your body." But apparently, he didn't take that part of the training, because he threw an arm jab at me, and it didn't stop. My second punch is the one that actually laid him out. But you all get that video. Just a matter of time. I just got to wait for the legal stuff. The wheels of justice move slow, both for Jeremy and me, but that's okay. I I'm not a litigious person. Being that they put their hands on me, though, I've already talked to some attorneys about different stuff. Uh, I just want to see what the Marine Corps is going to do. Will the Marine Corps do the right thing? And the right thing is just to do an investigation. You know, I'm. I used to tell Marines, you don't have to make an example of someone when there's like any type of legal issue. You don't have to make an example. That when you do that, you're telling your troops the system doesn't work. So I have to make an example. Like, you're telling them it doesn't normally work. I used to never do that. And I used to get staff NCOs who'd get so mad at me. They were like, "Sir, we got to hold this guy accountable." And I'm like, "Yeah, we're going to hold him accountable. We absolutely are. I'm just not going to do anything special for this guy. The process will work." And when you start showing your troops that, all these processes and these legal and administrative things, that they actually work, they begin to have faith in the system. It's whenever you have someone who, oh, I just remembered what that thing was. I was watching at the Navy SEALs, and I'll talk about that. Whenever, you know, you're showing people that, hey, our system, our process, when you let it go through the motions, it might be slow, but it will hold people accountable. It will, do what it's intended. That's the best thing you can do because that gives faith in the system, you know. And just like these things with Trump, these court cases, they don't give faith to the system. You're treating people special. Um, and when you treat people special, you're saying that the system normally doesn't work. So we have to do special cases. Well, that's not justice. That's not justice at all. Um, the case out okay that thing I was watching with the two Navy SEALs, it was um, Chief Gallagher, uh, who was a Navy SEAL, and um, he was being court-martialed, and he was put into solitary confinement and not being allowed to um, talk to his attorneys. And uh, when Trump was president, he ordered him to be released from solitary confinement and said, no, he needs to be able to confer with his defense, and his defense has to be given the chance to mount a defense, whether you think he was guilty or not. He's afforded the right of due process, and this is you can't keep him in solitary to deny him any due process, and that's where the president stepped in, said don't do that. And I believe he was only convicted of a lesser charge, if I remember correctly. But again, you don't treat people special when it comes to the judicial process. You just put them in the system and you let the system do what it needs to. That's why in my case, I only want an investigation. I, I want the system to actually start because that's what's been denied to me. Um, they've they've always done preliminary investigations. Said, yeah, this doesn't rate being looked at any seriously. Well, preliminary investigation is 100% a joke. I've done preliminary investigations. It's just a should we look into this? Yes or no. That's all it is. And in every case I had, it was yeah, we should look into this because at the end of the day, if we don't, we could be failing. You know, yeah, investigations take up a lot of time and money, but at the end of the day, it's just time and money. The damage that could be done in not doing it is way worse, almost always, in my opinion. Um, it's like when I had Marines in my command who were accused of sexual assault, but they were EASing, which is end of active service. So that date was coming up. So the command said, "Oh, well, we'll just let him EAS. Then he's no longer our problem." No, that's you denying your responsibility to hold them accountable, and you're re-victimizing that sexual assault victim. And that's an actual case that happened. I witnessed it for myself. Um, and that is why sexual assaults now have been taken away from military commanders. Military commanders are given special trust and confidence. They're specially screened by Congress. They can actually ignore U.S. law in cases as long as they say, "I'm ignoring this law for this period of time for these reasons," and Congress has entrusted them to be able. And the Supreme Court is given wide latitude to the armed services on stuff like that because it recognizes that in combat, and you have to have control of things outside of the system like morale and welfare. Those if you have low morale, those troops aren't going to fight for you, which puts the national security in jeopardy. So that's why you're as a commander, you're allowed these privileges to go outside. Now the thing is, you can as a commander, you can still be held accountable for those laws that you're ignoring, but if you have a justification for no, it's because of these laws. Like in the big one is burn pits. Burn pits are 100% illegal, and when you're in Afghanistan or Iraq, you still have to follow U.S. law. Why did we have burn pits? Because those commanders said, uh, we don't have the waste facilities and means to dispose of this waste in the proper way. So we are going to ignore the U.S. law about burning, and we're going to burn this stuff. And that's exactly what happened. And it came with health risks. But that that made the DoD and the VA responsible for all of us veterans who were exposed. I was a safety guy. I wrote up the letter for our camp and said to our colonel, man, you need to sign this, because by signing this, we're burning stuff right now. We're burning stuff right now. And you are causing exposure that's going to hurt everyone. If you don't sign this, all these people are never going to get treatment. And she was like, yeah, but this is against the law. And I said, yes, ma'am, it absolutely is. But this is our only option. We don't have any other way of getting rid of the waste. So, this is, I wish we had a better option. Congress hasn't funded the better options. So this is what we are left with. And so she signed the paper. And, but she knew by signing that she was taking on the responsibility. And she knew that if ever it came to light that there was other ways, she would be the one ultimately held accountable. I could be held accountable too. That's leadership. That's being an officer in the military. Sometimes you get held accountable for things. That doesn't mean you shirk your responsibilities. That is the responsibility of your commission. And you know, I recognize that was our only option. I showed her all the evidence. She became convinced of it, and that's what transpired. So that's why we have burn pit exposures. Really, I wish Congress would have funded uh, enclosed incinerators. They had sent one to our camp. The problem is it broke down, and they didn't fund the repair parts. They didn't fund the maintenance of it. So now we have all these people with burn pit exposures, and now they're getting cancer. That's how it happens. Um, it's a tragedy that Congress didn't feel the need to spend the money on that. When they spend the money, they blow money on stupid stuff. But now that's the reality. Us veterans, we bear the burden of it. And what's really sad is that the VA wants to screw us over with it, like the PACT Act. They passed the PACT Act, but why did it have an expiration date? Because they don't want to dedicate the money again, this time to the care. The PACT Act is great, but if you didn't apply for the PACT Act before this last October, you're kind of screwed. They're now talking about a second PACT Act. Why? Because it didn't cover everyone from the first one. That's how your government fails you. But that's me on my high horse about all this stuff. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about this morning? I'm just kind of going all over. Let me see if there's anything new in the trending. Nope. Kitty wants food. Kitty wants food. Can you all hear him crying? He wants food. Cinco de Mayo. I might, if they have some discounts, I might go out and get like some enchiladas and some margaritas, but only if they have a good discount. Uh, there's a lot of soccer stuff trending this morning. What was the name of the horse that won the Kentucky Derby? I did see that it was a three-way photo finish. I did not see who won. Optimus. Tesla has a new robot called Optimus, and it's doing practical tasks like sorting battery cells, even fixing its own mistakes. And it's a humanoid robot. So there it is. That's Optimus. I am Optimus Prime. I've been working on that. I can't do that voice. I am Optimus Prime. I just don't have the gravel enough. Tim Scott is trending. Why? Oh, he was on talking about Trump. Okay. Bernard Hill is trending. Oh, okay. He was the cinematographer from Lord of the Rings, I guess. Okay. So that's what's happening today. Thank you all for joining my my coffee this morning. Make sure you guys hit the like button and share this. Any issues you guys want me to discuss? The news has nothing really interesting happening. China's Z arrives in Europe in challenge to U.S. alliances. Nothing really happening there. I'll switch to a different one. Here's one thing I will say, and I put this on Twitter. MSNBC has a guy on there. His name is Steve Kornacki. He's one of these guys who he's a pollster and he follows the pollsters. He has some of the best insight. Like when he's talking, I listen. He's talking about all these things that are happening with the American public right now. And what I find absolutely hilarious, and this is so entertaining because I watch it on MSNBC. He talks, and everyone at the desk, they're looking at him, and you think they're listening. They're not paying any attention because the moment it gets back to them, they start talking about things counter to what he just talked about. And it's like, he's literally reading the polls. He's telling you, hey, here's where right now 60% of the country, and it's a significant portion, Democrats are saying that President Biden is failing. So he will talk about that. And immediately when they go back to the desk, you have people like Rachel Maddow and Lawrence O'Donnell who then start talking about how great the economy is. It's like, you guys have no clue. Fudging the numbers and everything doesn't put money into the pockets of real Americans. And real Americans are telling you, yeah, they're doing a horrible job. There's Glory. Hi. You get something stuck on your face. What were you eating? She doesn't want me to get it. Oh, I don't know what you were eating, but it's stuck on your face. Look at it. Look. There. Got it. Ugh. Gross. Gross. Gross, little girl. Yeah. You're supposed to be a little princess, but you got gross things on your face. Yeah. Gross things all over your face. Now she's going more play. Yeah. Well, I think I gotta get going. I gotta clean up kitty litter boxes, and I gotta clean up around here. Feel free to DM me on either Twitter or Instagram. You guys can all call me on Twitter now. They have a call function, so feel free to call me on Twitter. Let me know you're going to do it beforehand, because I normally keep my phone on silent. But yeah, I think that's a cool thing, a cool option that they've done. I've done a couple calls that way, and I do have a gentleman in Florida who reached out to me the other day. He wants VeteranNation to do some things down there. So I told him I'm open to anything. I'm not going to dictate. I would love to spread VeteranNation, further across this country and do things to help veterans. So if there's anything down there in Florida you think we can help with, I did tell him, I've got contact with a couple veterans up in Levy County. based upon the whole thing with what the hails. But maybe we can do something in Otter Creek. I don't know. This gentleman is down kind of near St. Pete, Tampa, that area. Um, but he really wants to do some stuff, and I'm on board with that. So maybe we'll put something together. I don't know. We'll try. But yeah, some exciting things, some fun things happening. Uh, but I'm gonna go ahead and get going. Make sure you hit the like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And hit me up if there's something that you want me to talk about, or if there's any questions that you have for me. You know, I love getting your guys' feedback, good, bad, and different, whatever. Only way I can make the show better. But yeah, I'll be around my house cleaning today. It's windy outside, so I probably won't be working outside. It's cooler today than what it's been, so uh, it's not a hot day in the desert today. So, but yeah, free feel free to reach out. Thank you for joining me on today's morning coffee with the skipper, and as always, thank you for being worth serving.